Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Alvarado, and I am a student here at the University of South Florida. Today, I have the privilege of sharing a leadership profile on an extraordinary visionary. We are going to look at a leader who did something truly remarkable. She stepped into one of the most conservative, highly structured, and century old spaces in our society, the funeral industry, and completely revolutionized it. She did this by engineering a creative, deeply elegant, and purposeful way to return our bodies to the earth. It is a process that honors the deceased, brings deep comfort to grieving families, and offers a profound act of healing for our environment. This is the story of Katrina Spade and the birth of human composting. To really understand the power of Katrina Spade's innovation, we first have to confront the uncomfortable realities of our current end of life practices. For generations, Western society has accepted only two rigid choices when we die: traditional burial or high heat cremation. When we look at them through the lens of an ecological perspective, the status quo is devastating. Every single year in the United States, traditional burials submerge millions of hardwoods, tens and thousands of tons of steel, and millions of tons of reinforced concrete directly into the earth. Along with these structures, we introduce millions of gallons of highly toxic chemicals into our ecosystems, threatening the safety of our soil and groundwater. Cremation is often marked as a greener alternative, but it is incredibly resource intensive. A single cremation requires burning fossil fuels to reach temperatures upward of 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit for several of hours. This uses as much energy as a 500-mile car trip, discharging over 500 pounds of carbon dioxide directly into warming our atmosphere. For decades, we viewed this ecological toll as the unavoidable price of saying goodbye. But 15 years ago, one leader chose to ask a fundamentally simple yet radical question: when we die, why shouldn't I give back to the planet that sustained me? Katrina grew up in rural New Hampshire, raised by parents who both worked in the medical field. She spent a lot of the time hearing her parents talk about death and dying. She also loved the outdoors, developing a deep spiritual connection to the natural cycles of growth and decomposition. She went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from Harvard College and soon found herself drawn to physical design, enrolling in the Master of Architecture program at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. When she turned 30, she found herself with two young, growing children and was suddenly struck by her own mortality. She realized she did not want to be buried in concrete, nor did she want to be turned into gas. Using her architectural training as a framework, she began researching ecological solutions. She learned about livestock mortality composting, a safe natural process farmers have used for decades to return deceased animals to the soil. The design challenge became her master's thesis, a place for the urban dead. Her work was so transformative that she was honored the prestigious Revolutionary Spirit Award, recognizing her unique ability to fuse structural design, cultural reform, and environmental sustainability. So, I want to talk a little bit more about the model she developed with the science of natural organic reduction. So, how does it actually work and what is it? Natural organic reduction, or NOR, is not an abandonment of structure. It's a highly controlled biological process that accelerates nature's own systems. So, when people go to her facility, the first process of saying goodbye to someone's loved one is the lying in process, which is when the deceased is placed respectfully inside a custom, modular stainless steel hexagonal vessel. They are laid gently on a bed of organic materials such as alfalfa, straw, and wood chips, which specifically is selected to optimize the biological breakdown. The second step is the biotransformation. Once the vessel is sealed and the loved ones have said goodbye, nature takes over entirely. The process relies on microbes and beneficial bacteria that are already naturally present in our bodies and on the plant material. By carefully regulating the airflow, moisture, and the precise ratio of carbon and nitrogen, these microbes thrive and multiply rapidly. The third step in the process is the molecular breakdown, which is when the microbes are very active. They generate massive biological energy, raising the temperature inside the sealed vessel to over 130 degrees Fahrenheit. This intense heat is critical. It naturally destroys the pathogens, pharmaceuticals, and viruses. Over a course of 30 days, absolutely everything, including the bones and teeth, are reduced to a molecular level. So, Katrina Spade definitely left a positive ecological legacy. For every single person who chooses natural organic reduction over traditional burial or cremation, we save 1 full metric ton of carbon dioxide from entering our atmosphere. Furthermore, this method uses 1/8 of the energy required for cremation. It completely bypasses the need for high heat fossil fuel burners, and it prevents toxic embalming fluids from polluting our subterranean ecosystems. But what I find most beautiful about Katrina's leadership is how she designed the emotional experience. She wanted to remove the cold, sterile, and invasive nature of conventional end of life care. She repeatedly described the time spent inside the vessel not as decay, but as warm, cozy, and comfortable. She framed this biological transition as safe and peaceful, making the science of composting feel deeply comforting to grieving families. Now, inventing a brilliant, sustainable system is one thing, but bringing it to the public required a completely different level of leadership. When Katrina first began, human composting was illegal in all 50 states. The funeral lobby is very powerful, and funeral laws are highly protective and rigid. To change them, Katrina knew she couldn't just rely on passion. She needed undeniable, peer reviewed science. She partnered up with leading soil scientists at Washington State University. Together, they conducted rigorous clinical trials with donor bodies to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the resulting soil was clean, safe, and rich in nutrients. Armed with scientific data, Katrina lobbied lawmakers, testified at hearings, and mobilized public support. Her tireless advocacy culminated in May 2019, when Washington state passed a historic legislation legally recognizing natural organic reduction as an authorized form of disposition. This legislative victory sparked a powerful domino effect. State after state has legalized human composting, proving that policy will shift when a leader pairs scientific excellence with compelling human centered storytelling. As a student looking at leadership, this topic is deeply personal to me. Because of my own background in mortuary science, I have seen the inner workings of conventional funeral practices firsthand. Too often, modern death care is designed purely for operational convenience. But in optimizing for convenience, we have severed our raw human connection to death and completely disregarded the long term health of our environment. This is why Katrina Spade's leadership resonates with me so profoundly. She is, by nature, a utilitarian leader. She looked at the universal human experience and realized that our bodies can serve a greater practical purpose even after we are gone. Her work shows that leadership isn't about just fitting into existing systems, It's about having the courage to challenge established norms when they no longer serve the ethical and ecological health of our communities. I chose to speak about Katrina because she is an individual who portrays deep ethical respect for the deceased and the environment, two things I am very passionate about. I feel Katrina showed moral courage by stepping into an industry that has been successful for decades, and she saw some fundamentally ethical concerns that needed to be radically challenged. Thank you so much for your time and attention.